Scott Humphrey's with us this morning. Scott is the CEO of the World Floor Covering Association, the WFCA. And Scott, how are you?
Doing wonderful. How about you, Dave?
I'm doing well. You know, you've been at the helm here for quite some time. Do you ever get home anymore?
Not a lot. We were trying to figure out the other day how much I traveled in my first year, about 140 days on the road. Some of that's to be expected. You know, if you've got an organization, you're wanting to tout what you do, you've got to be out in front of people telling them this is why we exist. Also, we've had some new staff members come on, and so as they're embracing their role, I'm going out with them. Frida State, who handles our affiliate relationships. My agreement was I would go to each affiliate the first time and help establish a relationship. Then I'll be able to hand some of those things off.
Well, it's good to see you out there, and certainly any membership organization, you need to see the movers and shakers in it, and it's good that you're out there doing it. Let me ask you about what you're hearing. We always hear these news reports of the economy, and it's up, it's down, it's whatever. What are you hearing when you're talking to your members around the country?
I think the best way I could describe it is we're at a speed bump in the road. I think a lot of people have slowed down. You know, you think about a speed bump, you slow down because you don't want to damage your car by going too quickly over it, and it's there for a reason. Right now, a lot of people have slowed down the way they're looking at their future. Their vision has slowed down because they're not sure what's going to happen economically, more so because of the elections. I mean, you'll notice I've got my button on here because I went and voted today. I think a lot of people are waiting to see what happens after November 4, who's in power, and either way, I think it's just knowing. And the uncertainty is what's caused people to hold back a little bit. I really hope that we see a good end to 2014 and a very strong 2015 based on some consumer confidence changes. But overall, I think that most people would say they're either slightly up or stagnant for the year.
I've heard also that many are having, even if their sales are up a bit, margins are not necessarily following suit. Are you hearing that?
That's true, and part of the reason for that is the competitive landscape. So you've got big box stores that have captured about 12% market share over the last 5 years. The way that they advertise, the way that they communicate their bargains causes others to feel like they have to play the same game. So rather than differentiating themselves and finding a different way to compete for the customer, they tend to play the same game, which means it's all about cost. The other thing that those big box stores have done that I think is very dangerous to the industry as a whole is they have dumbed down installation. So they've made installation $39 whole house install just a tack on to the end of your purchase experience. When in reality, the way that product looks in the home is the thing that will make you remember to go back to that retailer or that big box store in 5, 10, 15 years when you get ready to repurchase a whole home or just a room in the home.
So it's likely that if one goes to a big box player one time, they're likely not to go back the second time, even though it's 6, 8 years down the road.
It's possible. I think it's more convenience. The reason people shop at a big box store is twofold. One is the convenience. So I'm in looking for a hammer, happen to walk by the flooring department and go, you know what, we've got that one room we could fix up. The other is that the big boxes do a great job on two parts. One is they advertise well, and they've got the money to back the advertising. The other is they're very good at offering credit. And when you're making a purchase that large, credit is a very good reason to purchase at a specific locale. Independent flooring retailers, I find, even though they often have credit, don't know how to sell credit. I'm telling you, I went in to buy a washer and dryer a few years back, and we went to one of the big box stores, and we were just simply looking to determine what we might find. Because of the credit offering that they gave us there, that became the place that we purchased. And so knowing how to use credit can be a great tool or it can be a great detriment if you don't.
It's a good area for education, isn't it?
It is. And by the way, the education's out there. Most credit providers have resources you can tap into that tell you how to sell using credit.
But it's your observation that most retailers don't take advantage of the tools that are out there.
Most. The bigger, better retailers take advantage of several things: credit, training, and relationship building. And they understand that relationship building is not simply when people come into the store, but it means having people that you equip to go out and build relationship to bring people into the store. whether that's being involved in the Lions Club, the Kiwanis, Chamber of Commerce, whatever it takes to make people aware of who you are and the service that you provide. The good ones do all those things naturally. The majority maybe is a side thought, but it's not a focus, and that's what brings the people in.
It would seem, too, having credit options would allow you to increase your average ticket, I suppose.
There's no doubt about it. I mean, there's a lot of research that shows that, but your average ticket can double in value because now I know that I can pay over time. I'm not talking about one lump sum payment. I'm talking about extended payments, which allow that to be more palatable on a month-to-month basis.
Yeah, I think the floor covering industry was really late to the ball game when it comes to credit anyway.
They were, and from my time at Shaw, I can tell you that that was a great tool. I mean, when you get people to understand the value of that, and we work with many different credit vendor partners, when people understand the value of credit, it can change the whole way that they sell, but also can change the perception of the community as it relates to that store. Because first of all, you're giving them options. Secondly, you're providing a resource to them that they may not have had otherwise. You're allowing them to purchase up where they may have purchased simply at the budget they had available at the time. A lot of reasons that make you seem friendly and comfortable in a community setting.
Now, you were talking about the big box players, and there's very few that can compete with the big box players on their turf, and I think that education is really a prime area to let people, I guess, be able to see that.
Yeah, the challenge is that most people that are competing with big box stores are trying to compete on their home field.
Yeah.
And so they look at what the big box stores do and they think, I've got to do it that way. I love a commercial that came out a couple of years back where it's a guy that's had a barber shop, and it was the place where everybody hung out in this community barber shop. And pretty soon in the commercial, that one of these supercuts or something opens up across the street, and you see all the people leaving the barber shop and going over to get the $8 haircut. At the end of the commercial, it comes back, and you've got some people coming up to this guy going, what are you going to do? You going to close your doors? Not going to close my doors? No. And at the end of the commercial, he hangs a sign up over his store that says, we fix $8 haircuts. You've got to find a way to compete with them, not playing their game. And so what are the things that you do that are unique to you? What is your identity within the community? We just partnered with Summit Learning. Michael Vickers at Summit Learning has developed a course for us called Beat the Box. And really it's more about whoever your competition may be, how do you stand out? Michael is the author of a book called Becoming Preferred. And in that book he talks about the things that you can do to make yourself unique within your community setting. And so for instance, if you had a garage that would say, hey, listen, while you're sleeping at night, we'll fix your car, and then we'll have it ready for you in the driveway when you come back. His question is, would you pay a little more for that? Because I would, because of the convenience. Well, what can you do that makes you a little bit different, that gives you an edge over your competition? And this program, these modules are really set up to teach you basic selling, high-level selling, building relationships, and then there's some modules in there that really focus in on what do the big box stores do well, and how do you compete with that? Listen, we're not in a war against the big box stores, and they're not in a war against us, because in a war, you've both declared that that's the enemy. The big box stores are not declaring enemy on the independent retailer. They're winning because we're failing to see what they do right. A great general, a great coach always studies the other team's game plan, and then they make adjustments based on that. If we continue to play the same game they're playing and decide that we'll work harder, we'll work faster, we'll take lower margins, in the end, we lose. We've got to find a way to play the game differently.